Hello guys, welcome to Teenage Talks. I'm your host, Dr. Chaya Nair. I love talking to teens. This is episode number 3 of Teenage Talks, and we will be discussing about mental health. Adolescence is a transitional period where teens undergo physical, emotional, and social changes, and multiple factors affect their mental health. It is said globally, 13% of 10 to 19-year-olds experience a mental disorder. One mental health specialist said, mental health is not a destination, but a process. It is about how you drive, not where you are going. Teenagers should learn how to drive through their transitional period. Otherwise, they may have mental health issues. And if we do not attend to mental health problems of the teenagers, they extend to adulthood and affect both physical and mental health and limit the opportunities to lead fulfilling lives as adults. Today, we have with us an expert who excels in dealing with mental health problems among children, teens, and adults. He is the founder chairman of Banjara Academy, a unique institution committed to improvement of quality of life. He conducts a very popular and practical one-year diploma course in counseling skills and 4-month certificate course in life skills and child development. He is an author. He has written over 30 books and 80 booklets on all practical aspects of day-to-day life, and writes regular columns and articles in many reputed publications and edits a unique newsletter, Banjara Life. He is a great listener and believes that every human being should be given a chance to improve his quality of life. Without much ado, I welcome Dr. Ali Khwaja.
Thank you, and same to you.
I am very excited that you are on my show.
Yes.
You have had an interesting career trajectory, starting out as an IITian, specializing in metallurgy, and then a builder, and then a behavioral scientist interested in mental health. What was your motivation to choose mental health and start an academy?
Frankly, there was no aha moment when I took a decision like this. Right from my student days, more than being interested in technology, I was interested in people. My friends used to come and talk to me and pour out their woes or whatever is happening. Later, also, the same thing used to happen when I was involving myself in projects. I used to look always at the human side of the projects and what people can do and how to motivate, etc. So I kept drifting till I came to hear about this thing called counseling, which was unheard of in those good old days. And I got interested in that, took it up first as a hobby and a part-time thing. I started volunteering and then built up the thing step by step.
So you found your passion?
I hope so, but if I find something better, I might change. I can never predict. I'm a Banjara now, I keep moving all the time.
I think this is the best profession for you because you're such a good listener, and I don't think there are many listeners in this world. So I think you must continue. I hope you don't find anything else to interest you. Okay, Lee, here are some questions for you.
Right.
Mental health is defined as emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Will you please explain to the listeners what exactly is emotional well-being, psychological well-being, and social well-being?
Emotional well-being is being aware of your emotions and being able to manage your emotions. So if you know when you're sad, happy, contented, peaceful, excited, jealous, depressed, that's the first step. The second level of emotional well-being is to know how to manage your emotions. Okay, I am jealous, but what do I do? I am angry, but how do I manage constructively my anger? Same thing with psychological. What motivates me? What is it that I am looking for? What are my goals in life? What are my long-term, short-term goals? Which is the working of my mind? How do I find what is good for me? And at the social level, understanding different types of people, being able to deal with people who are difficult, being able to manage without getting stressed out in very, very difficult interpersonal circumstances. All these put together is good mental health.
So basically, it is self-awareness.
Starting with self-awareness and becoming aware of other people also. So social well-being is as important. Being able to relate, being able to connect, and being able to be in harmony with people around, the important people.
How many teens do you think can achieve these goals?
Oh, yes. I mean, it's not a one-time thing. So the more they keep working towards this, the more they keep, rising into that field and understanding. They are on that journey and they can enjoy. There's no perfection. You can't be. There's no such thing as perfect well-being. The same way as you doctors will say, there's no such thing as perfect physical health. There's no such thing as perfect mental health. Also, but if you are working in that direction, you become aware of your emotions, you're managing your emotions, you're setting your goals for yourself, you're learning how to manage stress. The better you are, if you are better today than what you were yesterday, enjoy the journey.
So how do we adults make teens aware of these things?
Yes, I think this should be part of the, firstly, it should be part of curriculum for people who are in their teenage. Now, since we can't govern what the curriculum will be, those of us who are teachers, who are mentors or counselors or whatever it is, we can spend time and help them with that. And thirdly, whenever a teen comes to us with a specific situation connected to the well-being part of it, and instead of just solving the problem of that boy and girl at that moment, empower the person so that he or she can face and overcome these situations whenever it happens.
Well, you have been a counselor for 30 years. Do you feel that mental health problems among teens are more these days than 3 decades ago?
Yes, I think they are definitely more, because the pressure, the expectations, the so-called competition has definitely significantly increased. Freedom to do what you can. 30 years back, boys and girls, for example, were not allowed to mix together, so that was an accepted thing. Today, boys and girls can mix as freely as they want. Some of them are very happy with that prospect, but some of them don't know how to handle those things. Same thing with careers. There are such heavy pressure getting into IIT or cracking the NEET and getting into MBBS and all that. There are tens of lakhs of students applying for a few thousand seats. And the pressure that is put sometimes on them can be really ridiculous.
So it is high parental pressure and their own expectations, also competitions, and also distractions.
Oh, yes. That is adding to the stress. That is adding to the stress that you have the world at your fingertips, or rather on the tips of your smartphone. So as smartphones are getting smarter and smarter, human beings are losing their smartness because we have become so dependent on them.
So very nicely said. The addictions are common among the teens. Apart from substance abuse, they are getting addicted to social media. And the studies reveal that youngsters who are addicted to social media are 3 times as likely to suffer from depression. Can you give some tips to teens how to break their social media connection?
Yes, I would not restrict it only to social media. I would say technology addiction. Okay. So the more the time a teen spends on the phone or even the laptop for that matter, in front of a screen, I would say, what he or she is doing is confining his entire world into that 6-inch screen or the 15-inch screen. The world is much wider than that. And there is a way by which this attraction takes place. Social media, those who promote social media, have ways and means of sucking you into it. So once you get into it, they offer you such temptations that you find yourself spending more and more time. The same thing with online gaming. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry today, but WHO has already declared it to be a mental illness if a person gets addicted to online gaming. So it could be online gaming, it could be social media, it could be this habit of constantly browsing on the net for something or the other. It could be heavy dependence. I want to go from point A to B. I don't even find out how to go. I just log into Google and I expect Google to take me over there. Going on to so many other things, you must be hearing things like pornography and people getting into unwanted situations with that, all these things. Now, when we use the word addict, one thing I want to say is, out of 100 teens who indulge in social media or whatever, gaming or whatever it is, the few who actually land up becoming addicts. Why is it that the others don't get addicted and they manage to move on and continue with their studies and do whatever is needed? The few who get addicted are people who have low self-esteem, who feel unloved, and who are lonely. Any teen who feels one or more of these, that I am unloved, nobody cares for me, or I am lonely, I don't have friends, my peers don't help me, or low self-esteem, I'm not worthy, I will not be able to live up to the expectations, I will never be able to be a success. Those are the people who get stuck with things like social media and all that, and they become addicts.
So you mean to say it's only teens with low self-esteem get addicted, not others?
Low self-esteem, loneliness, and being unloved.
So how do they break that?
Yes, there are lots of ways and means. Building up your self-esteem. For example, give yourself positive affirmations. Write down what your qualities are. Set realistic goals. If you say, I want to go only to IIT, I mean, there are brilliant engineers. Our Satya Nadella, who heads Microsoft today, did not go to IIT. He went to Manipal Institute of Technology. So tone down your expectations. Be realistic about what you want to do. And feel worthy that, yes, I didn't get 99%, but I did get 82% or 67%. I'm good enough with that. Whether it is to do with looks, whether it's to do with intelligence, keep reaffirming and giving yourself positive strokes that I am worthy. Look for those few genuine friends. You don't have to be popular among the entire group or the entire college or whatever. If you can find one or two seriously genuine friends who will stand by you, you will never feel lonely.
How do family members, teachers, and peers detect depression among teens? What are the early signs?
Unfortunately, depression does not have very standardized signs. Of course, the most obvious that happens is a person losing interest in what he liked to do. So he was passionate about cricket and suddenly he says, what's so great about it? And loses interest in that. He was very interested in dressing up well and all that. Now you see him wearing some old, wrinkled clothes and he's not doing that. So it first starts off with losing interest in things which he or she was interested in earlier. It is the change that should be seen. There are people who never bother about their dressing, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that they are depressed, but the change is what we need to look into. Then, of course, sadness. While sadness and depression are not the same, but sadness is definitely one of the symptoms that we need to look out for. A person who doesn't feel happy with certain things, a person who doesn't rejoice in small joys of life. And the third most important thing is inability to carry out the routine tasks and things like that. Inability, for example, to catch up with the studies or to maintain the grades, or even to keep up with their friends and the activities of their friends or whatever they are doing. So when they find that despite their best efforts, they are unable to keep up with their activities, these are generally very, the most common signs. But I would also like to caution that there is a thing called masked depression or smiling depression. You could have a teen who's putting on an act, trying to be very jovial and very friendly, because deep down inside he's miserable, he's feeling hurt, and he doesn't want others to know. That becomes a little more difficult. But if you just probe under the surface and make him talk a few sensitive things about what's happening in his life, somewhere he will break down and he will confide in you. The primary thing is to listen, ask a few open-ended questions, be non-judgmental, and make the teen talk about everything that is important to him or her.
My experience with the parents and teachers tell me that they're not really aware of mental health issues. How do we sensitize them?
mental health, as you know, is a very, very recent phenomenon. If you take 1 or 2 generations back, nobody even thought of it. There were a few people who were declared to be insane or lunatics and all that. They used to be locked up in mental asylums. And we used to think that everybody else is perfectly normal. So people have only now in this generation started getting aware. If it's person, the couple has a mentally retarded or autistic child, they will realize that they've never heard these words called autism or whatever it is. So obviously it is very shocking. The same thing happens when it comes to mental health, or most common mental health issue, of course, is depression. So they don't recognize this thing called depression. In fact, very sadly, and I would like to caution the elders in this context, that do not label a depressed child as being lazy. That's the first thing that you can do. He is not studying, he is not taking care of his grooming, he is not having a bath on time. See how lazy he has become. No, he is not lazy. He has lost that basic motivation and desire to do something in life, and you have to treat it accordingly. If you cannot do it, and if the teen is not willing to talk to you, take the person to a professional. There are ways and means of sensitively making him talk, find out the cause, work on that, and in severe cases, even go to a psychiatrist and get some medication. Whatever is the need, you can take over once you agree that yes, there is this thing called depression.
See, many of the parents are not aware. So what do we do? You think it is the pediatrician's duty to tell them about mental health from the very beginning?
Definitely. Starting from pediatricians, going to teachers, special educators, whoever is dealing with children and gives feedback to the parents. From time to time, I think we need to tell them that this generation is completely different from the previous generation. Don't go by all this thing. Yes, my father used to beat me up. So what? I grew up, fine. So whenever I did badly, father used to beat me up. You can't beat up your child today and expect him to perform better. You can cause a lot of mental damage to him if you start doing capital punishment or things. So that is the reason why the parents have to be sensitized in whatever manner, whenever, however it is possible in general. But specifically so, if any teen is showing any of these symptoms, then the parents have to be taken into confidence and they have to be enlightened and educated that please take this matter seriously and do it in the proper manner.
How do teens themselves realize that their mental health is not okay and need to do something about it?
Yes. We started off by talking about emotional, psychological, and social well-being, right? Yeah. So when we talk about emotional well-being, the first thing that I said is being aware of your emotions. So if you are a teen and if you feel that I am more sad than I used to be, I'm feeling disappointed, I'm losing my motivation, I'm losing my desire to do something or to meet up with friends or do whatever it is, something is not going well, that should be your first alarm bell. If it is just transitory and if you can bounce back, if it is because of some failure in an exam or some boyfriend or girlfriend having ditched you or something, then it is fine. It will pass off and you'll get back. But if it lasts for a sufficient period of time that it can affect your life, in the sense you may fail in an exam or you may have bad relationships, your friends may leave you completely and abandon you. If something like that is happening, please seek help. If you have very good, very supportive friends who can do hand holding, that would be the first step. But if you have friends who say, come, we'll go to a movie, we'll go and chill out somewhere, we'll go to the mall and then you'll feel better. No, it doesn't work. That only distracts. And sometimes it makes the person feel worse because in the theater or in the mall, everybody is happy and enjoying themselves. I seem to be the only one who is.
So they should have friends who will empathize with them and take the...
Yes. And if they do not have, then seek out, teachers, counselors.
Yeah. Do you think at that age, teens can be so aware that they can help their friends?
Oh, yes, some of them,
There are
some of them.
some of
That's
them.
why I said that look for those. If you're lucky enough to have some such friends who will do a little bit of hand holding, that's the first step. If that doesn't work, then move to somebody reliable. Maybe it can be an uncle, an aunt, or a teacher or somebody. If they can't help, then go to professionals like counselors or doctors.
Prevention is better than cure. So please give 5 important tips to teens to maintain their mental health.
Yes. Firstly, be aware of your emotions. Be aware when you become angry, when you become irritated, when you become jealous. Make even a note of it if necessary. How many times I got angry, how many times I felt envious, how many times I felt disappointed. Become aware of that. The second point in terms of prevention is to see that you don't get carried away by it. That if I am letting loose my anger on my friends or my parents or somebody, and that's why it's spoiling my relationship, please take that as a warning sign that I must do something about it. Third is ensure that you keep the right type of company. Teen is a age of peer pressure. Peer pressure can be negative, it can be positive. If you have friends who are trying to take you into things like smoking cigarettes or having alcohol or doing risky behavior, please move away from that. They can destroy your mental health more than anything. And set goals for yourself, long-term and short-term goals. People who have some direction and some goals that this is what I want to do in life, their mental health generally keeps high and above. And fifth and final, keep learning more about it, discussing it with knowledgeable people, finding out more and more so that from time to time you're aware of what could possibly go wrong with your mental health.
How about physical activity?
Oh, yes, the mind and body are directly connected to each other. The mind influences the body and the body influences the mind. So, and more so when a person is depressed, his physical activity also comes down, which adds to the problem. So if you can force yourself, if you used to go for a 45-minute jog and you just don't feel like doing it, go for a 10-minute jog. Go for a walk if you don't find it. You don't feel like going out because you may meet people and you are in that state of mind. Go onto your terrace or somewhere and walk around there. But do not give up physical activity. As long as your body is active and energetic, it will contribute towards your mental well-being.
And how about learning new skills? Do you think they will help? It will help them to keep mentally
learning
active?
new skills not only helps, but also learning new skills which are not part of your primary goal. If you are, let's say, a budding software engineer, you are aspiring to get into computer science engineering and learn about all these computer languages and this and that. Spend a little bit of time learning things which have nothing to do with computer science and with technology. You may like to learn origami, how to make flowers out of paper. You may learn how to do gardening. You may learn whatever it is. So if the new skills, the few new skills every now and then you get involved in, which are away from your main focus in life, that broadens and you start using more parts of your brain than what you were using.
So for self-awareness, they can write a journal. Does it help them?
Just writing a journal definitely helps a lot of people. Not everybody. There are some who just don't feel like it. We should not force them. But if you, as a teen, are the type of person who, instead of talking to people, you have a habit of writing down what your feelings are, etc., please go ahead and do it. Do it on a regular basis. Do it on a daily basis. And like I mentioned earlier, in that, add on a few things like, what good have I done? What good has happened to me? What are my skills? I did a good deed. There was a stray dog who was very thirsty. I got a bowl of water and kept it, and he drank it and he went off happily. I found somebody who was not very well and I helped that gentleman to go reach his home. Whatever, it can be very, very small things. But keep doing these little gestures and acts and recording it. That helps.
So to summarize, they should be self-aware. For that, they should write a journal. They should be physically active. And it is better they learn some new skills and maybe have good relations with the other people, and maybe they can volunteer also. That also helps. Yes.
Definitely.
Thank you, Ali, for this interview. And you've really thrown light on mental health. I'm sure teens will be benefited by that. And
Thank
you very much for that.
Bye-bye.
And thank you guys for listening. I'm sure you learned about mental health today, and the tips given by Dr. Ali Khwaja are helpful to you. I will leave you with a quote from Demi Lovato. You don't have to struggle in silence. You can be unsilent. You can live well with a mental health condition as long as you open up to somebody about it. So please open to an adult, maybe your parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, teachers, school counselors. Please remember, you don't have to struggle in silence. There are many people who can help you, and there are many counseling centers these days whom you can approach. Okay, guys, I'll catch up with you in my next episode. If you like my podcast, please share it with your friends and write a review. If you have a query, you can contact me. My email ID is chaya_nair@yahoo.com.